obviously, if I chose to identify as a female bodybuilder with tits like these, I could probably get away with it, James.
Because he's a lone wolf, Andy, you see? So he's out there and the women go, ooh, I can control him, I can get him, I can convert him into the perfect hobby.
Yes.
But he's a bastard. But I'll sort it. And they never do.
Everybody just works from home.
It's all a con.
Relaxing favourites on Easy Radio.
What's happened?
Somebody gets shot. So there's just a tiny little hole. And
no one was hurt during the making of this episode.
It's time to adjust those shoulder pads, backcomb what's left of your hair, and jump into the DeLorean for a look back at what's possibly the best decade anyone could ever have grown up in.
Shall we play a game?
This is Bring Back the 80s with your hosts James Alderson and me, Andy Jackson.
Welcome to another edition of the Bring Back the 80s podcast. Woo. James, who's your friend?
Yes. Oh, God, yeah. Well, obviously it's... I can't remember what her name is in the film, but from Mannequin. And we spoke about it in the last one. And, so this is my first girlfriend. And, she lingers. She lingers.
Punching above your weight there, James, if you don't mind me saying so.
You know, mate, It's the only way I can get a woman on the back of a moped. She's a looker, isn't she?
When I walked in here, I just, because you hadn't forewarned me that she was going to be there. Yeah. And I did do a literal double take.
Thought I brought the wife in, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, punching above.
Yeah,
James.
So she's buffing the top of my head perfectly. She's lovely. I've got her out of the garage, bless her.
So out of cold storage and into the studio here.
Hot studio.
So if you have just joined us and this is the first time you've ever sort of come across one of these episodes, we're on episode number 17 now.
Series 2
of the episode. How on earth we've managed to do this, and we're on a kind of roll at the moment with films, aren't we?
Yeah, we're doing specials, aren't we?
So we did romance and Mannequin films and.
Came quite naturally to us.
It did come quite naturally to that. It's interesting that you didn't actually have to go out and buy that mannequin, James. It was already she was already stashed away in your garage there.
I had her. No,
Did
already.
the wife know that she was there, or did you keep her hidden?
I've snuck her out in a body bag. It didn't look suspicious at all in my estate, ramming her in the back of mine.
Some people have burner phones. You've got a burner wife there, James. How funny.
Yeah. She don't complain. Bless her.
But I know she's very quiet ever since we've come in here.
Good as gold.
So that was sort of romance and things that we've done there. Today we're moving on towards something a little bit more action-packed, shall we say?
Yeah.
And we've decided that we're going to combine science fiction and action.
They sort of blur into two, don't they? Really?
Yeah.
You look at them in the 80s, particularly. I suppose science fiction is you never get a romantic sci-fi.
You don't actually, do you? No.
So always like guns and missiles and lasers and spaceships. So even I think that they sort of cross over, and again a bit like the romance for us, we're very much the action guy.
A lot of them sort of stuck in, didn't they? The romance would as guys we would think we were going to see an action movie.
Yep.
But then all of a sudden, looking back with hindsight, there's one for the ladies there as well.
Bit of love slipped in.
Lovely.
Most action films, I think, even comedies, no kids films, I suppose, unless you're looking at the Blue Lagoon or whatever it was we were talking about the other day.
Yeah, the one with all the complaints, inappropriate moves.
Action. I mean, an action hero of the 80s particularly had to have a bit of love interest.
Yes.
Because he's a lone wolf, Andy, you see? So he's out there and the women go, ooh, I can control him, I can get him, I can convert him into the perfect hobby.
Yes.
But he's a bastard. But I'll sort it. And they never do. But don't they have a lovely time for that hour and a half?
They try, don't they? So that's the movies that we're doing. It's technically action films, but some of them are going to be sci-fi. Yeah. Probably a bit, a little bit of love interest might slip in there, as you say. Before we do that, though, it's time to reveal our mystery sound.
Oh, yeah.
Let's do that right now.
Yep.
It's the mystery sound of the 80s. It's the mystery sound of the 80s.
Yes. Ooh.
Television South.
What a logo.
Yes.
Eh? God.
With the trombones and everything there.
Well, if you can't get a brass band introducing TV, I don't know what you can. Television South, I mean, for southern England, particularly Portsmouth, Southampton area, really, because the areas were very tight down in the 80s.
Yeah.
Now you're checking for the travel in Portsmouth and they're telling you about Oxford. You're like, what the hell? Oh, I better not go that way, love, today to work. What fucking way are you going? Going by the Cotswolds to get to Southampton. Well, that's the M27 diversions for you. But yeah, so Television South was a very coast to coast and all these TV, all the news and things. Yeah, that really did bring it back. And I had to have a think. But yeah, TVS.
Fred Dinage and co were there. They actually started off in the late 70s. They started using that and used it all the way through the 80s as well.
Yeah, I just realised I said how, and that's not Fred Dinage at all.
It is Fred Dinage.
Is it?
How?
Who was the other bloke? There's another bloke saying how, wasn't there? Was it Fred Dinage?
It was definitely
sure?
100%.
Oh, that's all right then. I got it right.
100%.
Where did this bit out? Can we? I didn't think it was Fred Dinage.
It would be like it never happened, James.
Are you sure?
I'm 110% sure.
Oh my goodness.
110% sure.
Well, that's good.
So there we go. So that was last week's Mystery Sound. Well done to John White in Fareham.
Go, John.
He was obviously a avid watcher of TVS, TV South from those days as well.
Yeah.
So that's it. People still call it TVS as well, don't they? Even though it's Meridian.
Do they?
So people still call it TVS.
Is it still called Meridian?
I'm surprised
it hasn't changed
could be. Who knows with the way things go? But you're right about the areas getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it was once upon a time your local area, but now that we're looking. I'm seeing. Oh, what's the weather doing? You're right. They're talking about Oxford, or they're talking about Eastbourne.
Yes.
Why?
Who cares about Eastbourne? Sorry if you're listening from Eastbourne.
Or if you're watching from Eastbourne, it's lovely to have you along, James.
Hi.
We need every watcher and listener that we can get.
We do.
So it's going to be the movies coming up in a couple of seconds. I suppose we better do a new mystery sound.
Oh, yeah.
A new mystery sound. This is it. What is this? Sticking with a theme.
Another band.
Now
brass band.
it was all about the brass bands there, wasn't it?
Why not?
I suppose, I would have thought it would be sort of synths and things like that for the 80s, but no, they were all about the instruments.
Get the London Philharmonic in.
Yes.
We've got another jingle. What?
That was when, back in those days, TV, even if it was local TV, it was still a really big deal, wasn't it? It was massive budgets, staff on massive payments,
huge amounts of people,
and runners here, there, and everywhere. And it's now, if you go into Meridian, it's not a million miles away from us. It's not quite as glamorous as perhaps it used to be.
I mean, as you know, I go in lots.
Yeah.
Studios.
Oh, yeah.
And but even radio stations though, there used to be more people than there are now. There'd just be one person in there and doing everything. Well,
radio stations now has gone such a full circle that now some radio stations don't even have studios. Everybody just works from home.
It's all a con.
Relaxing favourites on Easy Radio.
Back to romance.
But that's our new mystery sound for this week. Sticking with the theme, it's definitely a TV station of some description, but which one could it be? Which one could it be? Let us know in the comments, and we'll pick a lucky winner. Somebody will win one of these. Gorgeous, bring back the 80s, super soft t-shirts with the Rubik's Cube, with the brightly coloured sunglasses, with the TV with the rabbit ears, all
roller
that stuff
skates
on there. So that's to be won. Or if you don't fancy one of those, you can go to one of James's myriad comedy shows across the South as well. Here, there, and pretty much everywhere, James.
Every Friday, Saturday, it's somewhere. So you can pick from any of them and have a couple of free tickets. Stitches.fun if you want to see where the one is. It's easy, isn't it? Easy to see which one's nearest to you. Just pick one with those A-list celebrities. And I'm always astonished, James, because I think you've got people off the telly. You got people from live at the Palladium. You got people from live at the Apollo. We have, This weekend we got Paul Sinner, who's from The Chase, Cinnaman. He's been on live at the London Palladium and all sorts. He's doing our headlining our shows this weekend. Although by the time you've watched this, it'll be last weekend. Oh, yeah. Although he is doing that next few weekends. A few weekends, actually, okay, all right. Part of the plan. There we go. I didn't make that mistake. I did.
So so those are your choices. Just if you choose from the T-shirt or the comedy show tickets, either an absolute bargain. It is quite literally something for nothing.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments what you think that came from.
Yeah.
So on to our first movie clip, and I thought we'd do this as a bit of a quiz for you, James. Here, because I noticed that when like when you see it on Netflix and whatever, they summarise a movie in 1 or 2 sentences.
Yeah.
See if you can tell me. Which movie is this? Okay.
Yep, I'm listening.
A veteran Green Beret is forced by a cruel sheriff and deputies to flee into the mountains and wage an escalating one-man war against his pursuers.
I wonder. Is it Some Mothers Do Have 'Em?
Tell us what you think it is, James.
I'm going to go with Rambo.
You're going to go with Rambo?
Is it?
Going to go with Rambo. Let's find out and see if you're right, James.
Are you telling me that 200 men against your boy is a no-win situation for us?
You send that many, don't forget one thing. A good supply of body bags. Sylvester Stallone. This time, he's fighting for his life. First blood.
Very good. Another 80s classic, of course, was First Blood Part 2.
Yes.
Should just do Second Blood, really. But yes, and I don't think he's got enough bullets there. If he's going to fight 200 men, he hasn't even got 200 bullets. You see that? He had them crossed over and then a little belt.
Perhaps he's got some in his pocket. Perhaps there's some around the back or somewhere.
He might be having some delivered by drone.
So that came out, obviously, in the 80s. 1980, what do you reckon? 1982.
Yeah.
You know your movie facts,
Well,
don't you?
sometimes. I know the action ones, of course, because, that's the kind of guy I am.
I could tell by the props that you keep stored in your garage there.
Yeah, that's right. Rubik's Cube, Dirty Dancing cassette tape, mannequin. I'm all about the action heroes. But I mean, that was the beginning of his super fame, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Rambo. He did a couple in the 80s, or 3 in the 80s, I think, and then they had a big gap until about 2008 or something, and then came back again. It's like,
He came back as a boxer, didn't he?
No. Yeah, that's it. He came back in a mobility scooter with all-terrain tyres on, and a missile launcher on the front, probably. But Rambo. I mean, it's a lot of cliches, but one thing you've got to say about the action films of the 80s is they had wonderful little sound bites. So that little phrase there, they better bring a body bags. I mean, who wrote these? I mean, they're never said in that in war, are they? You better bring up body bags. What? But yes, it's a great little snippets there.
In those days, I think it's fair. It was always the men were always the heroes. There was never any hint of a woman having any involvement, other than in a romantic way. These, so the men were in charge, as we were in the 80s.
Yeah, and I mean, the woman, obviously, the man would reach down to lift the woman out of a big pit that she'd just fallen into. The silly cow, Well, I'm trying to kill 200 men here, and you're tripping and falling into big holes. And he'd reach down with one arm and lift her out. And now you get these little glimpses. Started in Star Wars, actually. With Daisy Ridley, where he checks and says, "Are you all right?" after things exploded, and she looks at him like, "What? Are you all right?" It's like, and she helps him, and so it's getting a bit more balanced. But it's taken a fair few decades.
A long time.
Yeah, but there's no women helping men out of big ditches. That's the next step. A man falls in a hole and a woman grabs him and just lifts him out with bullets around it.
There's a lot of female bodybuilding stuff going on, though, isn't there now? Which never used to be a thing back in the... Did it used to be a thing back in the 80s?
It did, but they weren't ripped, built like Rambo.
Yeah. But I think as well now, with the way that you can choose your gender, obviously, if I chose to identify as a female bodybuilder, I could probably, with tits like these, I could probably get away with it, James.
You don't even need the boobs, you see. You could just say it and it's fine, and we'd be fine with it. And it's believable. I'll be honest, sat here now, Andy.
Yeah.
He was the iconic action man, wasn't he? And it was him and Arnie. They were the two, and weirdly still are from time to time. I mean, who are the new action heroes, really? There's no built, rippling muscle hunks. Action heroes these days are just I don't know, secret agents or something, you know, like a Mission Impossible.
It's all there
Jason
rather
Bourne-y
than
sort of
yeah,
feel.
it's all brain power.
Yeah.
You know, the geeks have taken over. If there's a hero, it's going to be a hacker sitting in his bedroom.
Yes.
Isn't it? Those are the action heroes now, where it's all about the keyboards and
really strong wrists.
oh dear, story of our lives, James. Anyway, moving on. Here is another clip of a movie. Tell me if you can work out what this one is.
Go on then.
It's a team of commandos on a mission in a Central American jungle find themselves hunted by an extraterrestrial warrior.
Oh, crikey.
Oh.
Okay, I'm going to go with, well, it's Predator.
Let's have a look and see if you're right, James. James says Predator. The TV says...
He was skinned alive!
It hunts for sport.
It's killing us one at a time.
We're all gonna die. But this time, it's picked the wrong man to hunt.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
20th Century Fox presents Arnold Schwarzenegger. Predator. The hunt begins Friday, June 12th at theaters everywhere.
Just an amazing film. It stands the test of time.
100%. And I'm going to say that I think that in its own way it brings a bit of psychological horror into the action thing as well. It's just, I remember watching that, and I never, for some reason, I never saw it when it came out at the cinema.
No,
I watched it on TV, and I was actually, scared by the psychological thought of what was going on. Obviously, it was late at night, and I was probably fairly young watching it. But I remember it. I remember it
the guy
vividly.
just sweating, dry shaving himself, trying to see the Predator, and then that other guy going, "Ain't got time to bleed." It's like, and that laugh. You've got the laugh of the Predator. Oh, I love it. But it's we need to do that at some point. Can we play the clip of the Predator laughing, and then we'll get a bit of you laughing?
A little bit of match and mix and match.
It was you in there.
Okay,
I think it's you. Do you know who the actor was that was originally meant to be in the Predator Alien?
No, James, I have a funny feeling you're about to tell me.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Really?
In the first, if you Google Jean-Claude Van Damme Predator Alien, the first design of the alien was awful. Awful. And until they found the unknown actor, who's a tall, really tall black guy, who was not a famous actor in his own right, but obviously Jean-Claude Van Damme was, even by that point, but it was a bit of a tool by all accounts.
Why did he turn it down?
He was being a diva, I think. He didn't turn it down. I think he got sacked.
Oh, right.
But if you look at the original Alien design of the Predator, it was just awful. It was a really early 80s catastrophic design. So that one was just iconic, isn't it? That design of Predator.
But what I liked about that, there was some dry humour in that as well, wasn't there? From time to time. So that's one of the ones that crosses all the boundaries. Was there romance in there as well? Was there a love interest in there? I don't remember there being
I do
one.
think Predator has something going for Arnie. At one point there, they got quite close in the muddy swamps. What always makes me laugh is I can't stop thinking about Predator every time you laugh now. It's like echoing through the forest with a beeping when he was tapping his thing. The only thing that does strike me is, when you're in a shop and there's a lady with very long nails and she's trying to tap the till, that's like Predator when he's tapping on his arm there. He's got really long claws, and I just think, mate, you should have just had them trimmed before you've really had those extensions too long. He's tapping away trying to set the bombs, and he's probably thinking, these bloody extensions, I shouldn't have had these on. But it's so funny when you look at it, when you watch back the clips. Anyway, but just it's magical. And the next one, obviously after that, I think was early 90s with Danny Glover. Brilliant again. Not quite as good, but brilliant. And then they've Tried after that, never got that same.
Sometimes they go too far, don't they? And they just, you can flog that horse past its death, and sort of round the other side. But it's just not. It's not going to happen.
Great,
but it wasn't one of those ones, where you get a bit of everything in a movie. So again, perhaps something. Perhaps that's the secret sauce of having a sellout movie.
Yeah.
Is to have literally something for everyone.
Yeah.
In every movie.
Yeah. No romance in that though. It's a bit of a shame.
I wonder maybe we should rewatch them and see if there's a bit of a hidden romance that passed us by, James, as younger men.
Well, was there the lady in there? There is a lady in the group.
There's got to have been a lady, hasn't there?
Doesn't she save? There's the village that they save. There's a village, and she tags along with them. I'm sure something happens.
Probably takes.
And I'm sure there is. I don't think they kiss, but I think there's definitely a little bit of heat.
Yeah, probably takes all the credit for all the good stuff. Anyway, right, are you ready for your next movie clip, James?
Yes, please.
So this is the one-word sentence that you would find to describe this. Okay. It's a retired Special Forces colonel tries to save his daughter who was abducted by his former subordinate. Shall I do the voice? A retired Special Forces colonel tries to save his daughter who was abducted by his former subordinate.
Oh, goodness, I should know that.
You should know that.
That sentence, though, is quite brief. The daughter. No, go on.
You are going to kick yourself, James.
I'm sure I am.
Absolutely kick yourself. Watch the TV. It will tell us all.
They hunted him down.
You know, Colonel, we went to a lot of trouble to find you.
They murdered his friends. And they took the only thing he would kill for.
If you want your kid back, then you gotta cooperate. Right? Wrong.
Now, somewhere, somehow, someone's gonna pay. If it's a mission no man can survive, he's the man for the job. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Commando.
Let's party.
Yeah, I mean, this is trading off of the back of Terminator, wasn't it?
Well, he took your advice because he had lots more bullets. He also had grenades and all kinds of other stuff going on there.
Yeah, I mean, it was quite cheesy, Commando, swinging through a shopping precinct. There's no risk assessment there. I could see that's dangerous. But, considering that's mid-80s, that was quite twee, really, because the year before when he was Terminator, well, I think it was 84 Terminator, he was that was brilliant. Commando, it was still good for action, but it was very 80s.
It's almost like he was saying yes to everything for the money.
Commando, I mean,
at that point.
I bet he was wearing pants. He had his shirt off enough, though, I bet.
He did, didn't he? And he's always got the same sort of makeup stuff going on, hasn't he? Every time.
He'll give the game away to his enemies.
Yeah.
It's the guy with stripy face. That's him.
Of course, he modelled himself on adamant.
Probably. He loved that. He probably was always doing that as he was walking through the enemies.
But he was in everything, though, wasn't he, Arnie? Was he in everything?
I mean, he was right through, really. Right into the early 2000s, he was in a lot. I mean, he's obviously in Terminator every time there's a bloody Terminator out, because now they've decided he does age. Thank God, otherwise he couldn't be in it. But yeah, so that era, early to late 80s, Arnie was... Every year there was something. Red Sonja, that was dog shit.
I don't remember that one.
I do. It was some weird... Yeah. Conan the Barbarian, was that him as well? Yeah. Anything that involves strength and fighting and action and sword wielding and holding some sort of helicopter mounted missile launcher on his arms, he'll do it.
But isn't he one of these people who, we should all aspire to be? Because whatever he turns his hand to, he's bloody brilliant at, whether it's acting or whether it's weightlifting or whether it's going into politics.
Yes.
And, why they don't make him run for president or something.
Yeah. I mean, he was shagging his nanny, all of that. He was great at all of that. Bless him. No, I mean, the thing is, he was well cast. So a robot or a foreign soldier or whatever it might be, it was good that he was cast in that. But as he got better at acting, because he did evolve, he was quite good in things like Twins and all those silly sort of films.
The little comedy stuff, yeah.
And Kindergarten Cop and stuff.
I'd totally forgotten he was in Twins and Kindergarten Cop.
Yeah. And Jingle All the Way.
Yeah.
So these 90s silly comedies, by then he'd really nailed doing something other than
he was literally again he was saying yes, I'll take the money, thank you. The answer is yes. Now what's the movie?
But he didn't really do real bad B movies. There's some people at the moment, like Jason Statham, for example, I guess you could argue was an action star of the 2010s, and that in the 2020s, he's basically doing everything. The Meg 2 or whatever it is he's doing. Now there's a bigger shark or whatever it is. You think, oh, for Christ's sake, he could have been a real big, proper action hero, I think. And he's ended up taking some what are virtually B movies, but Arnie never really did, I don't think. Not really. You look at my top.
I'm just looking at your top there, yeah.
Well, it's Childcare Services of Ellen Ripley. It's a T-shirt just promoting how well she looks after that kid in Aliens.
That's really good.
Yeah, no, it's not a real business, but it's but yes, I do like the T-shirt. It's just a good little sideline when the movie's dropped away. Aliens, of course, another classic action film.
Yes, which we may well touch on at some point in the future. I don't know. Will it come up as one of those 1 or 2 line sentences? You'll have to wait and see if you can guess.
If it doesn't, I'll be fuming.
So, thank you, by the way, if you have tuned in for the first time on this as well. I know there are new people coming along all the time. Every week now since we've started doing this as well. So thank you very much. At this point, I would just like to say, if you're enjoying what you're watching, we always ask, can you just share it with one other person?
Yes.
Just send them the link, send them the YouTube link, or however you're listening. If you're listening in the car or whatever, just send them the link.
Yeah.
And so that we can do more of this nonsense. All the time.
Yeah. If you know someone who's older than the late 30s, I would say, then and likes thinking back to the old days when they were kids and stuff, and has a little think and has a little chuckle maybe along the way.
Perhaps somebody in their mid 40s like me, perhaps.
Maybe, or late 40s like me. So I mean, if people in their 40s, 50s, even early 60s, 80s was a good time, wasn't it?
It was a good time to be around. It was a simpler time, James.
It was
a simpler time
when your action heroes just had to have bulging veins. What?
You ready? Are you ready for our final clip, James?
Are we thinking? Yes.
Yes,
please.
Yes.
Let's move on.
Yes, I'm just trying to blank out that picture of bulging veins there, James, for a second. And you're in your garage. Okay. Anyway, decades after surviving the Nostromo incident, Ellen Ripley is sent out to re-establish contact with a terraforming colony.
Oh, no.
But finds herself battling the alien queen and her offspring. James, what on earth could that movie be?
I don't
Have a think hard. Think hard.
I don't know. I'm having a think.
Let's wait and see if the magic TV can tell us the answer.
Just tell me one thing, Burke. You're going out there to destroy them, right? Not to study, not to bring back, but to wipe them out.
That's the plan.
There's movement all over the place. 5 meters, man. 4.
Aliens. This time, it's war.
Because that was the follow-up to the original one. I thought the original was in the 80s as well. 79.
Which is amazing effects for the 70s. Even some of the space shots, you can tell, obviously, it's all just models and stuff, but it's good. The only thing it's a bit choice in Aliens with the truck, the armoured truck that sort of flies through into the
space?
No. into the facility it smashes through and drives through, and you can see it's a model, but it's like late 70s, early 80s.
I think in those days, though, we weren't looking out. We weren't trying to pick holes in the special effects. Now there's whole Facebook groups of people pulling CGI to pieces.
Yes.
Saying, did you notice that got that completely wrong? Yes. But in those days, we were just engrossed in and I think it was because when we were watching it on the TV as well, we didn't have the 1080p HD displays to look at. We were all watching it on our little tellies,
grainy screens, like this,
maybe even in black and white, James.
Well, I don't know about that, but we were definitely watching it on a screen that's probably smaller than this, and squared off. Maybe a squared off size. That would be a big telly for someone's lounge. And I just remember when Alien and Aliens did go into the 90s and 2000s, they started adding the shittest CGI, and you watch like Alien 3 or whatever, where they're in the prison and things, and some of the Alien, the computer generated, you just think, what the, how do we fall for this? It is awful. But that one, Alien obviously is where they stumble across it. They're just a floating ship, and they stumble across this deserted colony, and then they go back with the army and blow them to kingdom.
Don't tell how it ends, though, James. There's no spoilers.
No, okay.
We never like to give away.
Everyone
spoilers.
survives. It all turns out fine.
Happy ever after.
Yeah, a bit of romance. That actually happens a bit later on, doesn't it? In 2010 or something, where she actually does have.
Oh, so she does survive then?
No, she doesn't survive, but somehow she does. And but she has the baby. She has a baby alien baby or something, or I don't know. I got very confusing. But anyway, there's lots of aliens. Like there was lots of Rambos and lots of Rockies and lots of Terminators.
So it all ends a happy ever after for everybody.
Everyone's fine.
Oh, that's good. What a happy note to end part one of this 80s action movie.
I think action movies. It's a bit like an A-Team episode. Nobody gets hurt. Everyone just comes out rubbing their head. Their jeeps just rolled down a hill and exploded, and all the soldiers get out and go, "Oh, what's happened?"
Somebody gets shot. There's just a tiny little hole in that.
Yeah, no one was hurt during the making of this episode.
Loads of blood spurting out on people's heads.
Even with all those bullets, nothing.
So thank you for watching. We're going to be back with part 2 in 1 week's time.
Yes.
So as we mentioned earlier on, if you know what our mystery sound is, we will remind you in part 2. But do let us know in the comments if you want to win a fabulous Bring Back the 80s t-shirt, or if you want to go to one of James's myriad comedy nights right across the South.
Where there's loads of action.
So that's what you're up to during the South. During the course of the next week, you're out comedying every Friday night. And Saturday nights as well, all the time.
And what are you doing?
Well, I'll be working at the campsite on Fridays, Saturdays and Sundays. They've figured out that I'm moonlighting and doing a radio job as well. So that was when one of the people heard me on the radio and I was in the campsite at the same time. So how does that work, Andy? But that's just a story for another day. But yes, you can catch me on Easy Radio playing relaxing favourites.
Hello.
Every day from 11 o'clock until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and on Nation Radio right across the country from 9 p.m. on a Sunday night as well.
That's lovely.
How exciting!
What a way
is that?
to end the weekend.
And then back with another bit of this nonsense Tuesday next week.
Yeah, more action.
On that note, we will see you next Tuesday.
Thanks for listening to this week's edition. We'd love it if you could subscribe in your favourite podcast app, and don't forget there's a video version on YouTube too. You can contact us using the links in the show notes and on the YouTube channel, and we'll see you next time for another edition of Bring Back the 80s.